Karlie, aka Technobird, is a website designer and SEO specialist for small businesses, solopreneurs, and creatives. For 10 years, Karlie has worked with countless businesses and business owners, including both service-based and e-commerce, to create their own unique space on the World Wide Web. Whether that be creating their websites, optimizing their websites, creating kick-ass and fluff-free SEO strategies, to mentoring and more. Karlie is also an inventor, having created the world's first and only desktop SEO planner and budget-friendly SEO tools to help those either starting a business, to grow their business, or utilize the true power that SEO provides businesses, from startups to scale-ups. Karlie's all about keeping shit simple, yes. She's transparent and BS free, and she's also a finalist in the 2023 Oz Mumpreneur Awards for Digital Services Businesses of the Year, and a finalist in the SheCom Awards for SEO Services. Amazing, Karlie. So nice to have you here, and congratulations. That's really, really exciting.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. I'm excited about the awards, and people nominated me. I didn't have to self-nominate, so that's even better.
Even better. That's incredible. Yes. That makes it legit, right? You're not just paying for that privilege. That's incredible. So amazing. Well, fingers crossed. When are those awards happening? Do you know?
The Osmum Awards are next month, and then the SheCom is in September in Sydney. Yeah, don't think I'll be going to either, unfortunately. But yeah, fingers crossed. I'd love to win. I'm super competitive.
Yay. We'll be able to update this with award-winning guest Karlie Plowman. Yeah. Right?
Hopefully.
Amazing. Hopefully. Well, we are here today to talk about SEO. So let's dive in with the basics. Most people now know what search engine optimization is. But it's not just about Google, is it? Or just about your website. Would love to hear from you what SEO really encompasses as a whole.
Yeah, well, it kind of is. It kind of is all about Google, to be honest, because search engine optimization, search engine, that's Google. And the whole point of the optimization part is to get found on Google, because you want to get found on Google so that people can type in whatever they want to type in to find the service you provide or the product that you sell, and that you come up as high as possible in the search results. That is the whole point. You want to be on page one and as high as possible on page one to get the click through to your website. So yeah, it really is there are different parts, of course, to SEO. There's on-page SEO and off-page SEO. And on-page refers to the actual optimization of your website part. So doing all the things on your website to make sure it's as Google and human friendly as possible. And the off-page SEO side is doing all the things to draw traffic to your website. And a lot of people think that you just have to do the on-page side, and then all the traffic will appear and all the sales will happen and you'll just magically come up in Google. But you can't just put all your eggs in that one basket. And there's also no point in doing the off-page stuff without the on-page first. So yeah, there's lots of angles and lots of arms to SEO for sure. And I think that's where people kind of get lost and confused and bury their head in the sand when it comes to it, because do I do all the things or do I do some of them? Which ones do I do? Are they working? Is it worth it? All those kinds of things. But at the very core of it, at the end of the day, SEO is about getting found on Google by the people that are looking for you and looking for what you offer and coming up as high as possible. Because if you come up on page 3, you're less likely to get the click-throughs to your website than you are on page 1. It's just how it works. So, yeah.
What about other search engines? Is anyone using Safari? Is that still a thing?
Safari is a browser. It's not a search engine.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. All right. Delete that out. Oh, God, make me sound like an idiot. Cut.
Not at all. Not at all. Most, I don't know anyone that uses Bing. Do you? I don't.
Yeah. Anyone who is not tech savvy and has no idea how to download Chrome would probably use Bing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
do you know what? The same principles would apply on Bing than it would on Google. So on Google search, I mean. So, but yeah, look, I don't think I've ever binged anything. Have you binged anything?
I'm going to probably deviate a little bit off the trail with this question, but it's a follow-up question, I guess. So if you've said that nobody uses Bing, or that, it's not the most popular search engine, do you think then that means that maybe it'd be easier to rank number one on Bing because there's so many, like, fewer people that use it as a search engine compared to Google? Like, is the market
It's a
share
good
there?
question. That's a good question, but I think, like I said, the same rules would apply. Like, you'd still need to do all the same things, like on page and off page SEO wise, to get that Google, the Bing visibility. But yeah, it's a good question, not something I've really explored before because my expertise is Google. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. I wonder if, like, though, the fact that there is less people using Bing, that means, you're going to get less traffic and less click-throughs and less visibility because of the minimal people using it. But at the same time, I don't know the actual stats on Bing either. This is just going off my own experience and whatnot. So, but that's a good question.
When it comes to small business owners and the practices that you see them doing in terms of SEO, what are the biggest, say, mistakes and, I guess, like, mindsets that these business owners are in when it comes to their SEO work?
Yeah, I think a lot of them ignore the basics and the foundations of it. They see the shiny things like social media marketing and ads and forget that they have to do the work on their website first. So for me, the biggest mistake is that they just put all the things on the website, all the products, and make it look really pretty, and that's all great, but they've not done any keyword research. They've not put the right keywords into the website where Google will look for them. Maybe they've got broken links on their site. Someone's clicking a button and it's not going anywhere. It goes to the wrong page, or the content falls flat, or the navigation's really confusing. And I think people sort of forget that is really important to do first rather than an afterthought, or 4 years down the track and you're like, why is my website just not getting the traffic? Why am I not coming up in Google? I'm spending all this money on, Instagram and ads and email marketing, and it's just people are getting there, but they're not doing anything, or they're leaving really quickly. So for me, it's like, it might sound boring or be boring to people, but without doing those basics and setting those really solid foundations first, you are shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go. And a lot of people sort of ignore it because it might sound too hard. Like, oh, what's keyword research? I don't know. It doesn't sound important. Or, I don't know how to write really engaging keyword rich, content. And I'll just talk about myself instead because people want to know about me. So yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake that small business owners with websites make, is just not setting up a great foundation from the get-go and just doing the shiny things first.
Is SEO like a daily process that you should do, or a monthly process? Do you think that maybe, like, the amount of time that people think that they have to invest in it, they just go, no, too hard, when, like, they already have social media and it's like, you have to be on there all day, or you have to make it part of your daily routine? Do you think that that's why maybe they just think that it's just so overwhelming and that it's a lot of stuff to do and you have to do it all the time?
Probably, yeah, I do. And also not knowing what to focus their time and energy on as well, because, like, SEO can be really broad. There are so many different to SEO. So it's like, well, I don't know where to start. So I'm not going to be able to do it all. So I might as well just not do anything. And that's where people fall down. For me, I spend probably, every month, first of every month, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm on my Google Analytics and I'm on my Google Search Console, and I use an SEO tool called SE Ranking, and I'm looking at my website and SEO performance. So I'm looking at what traffic I got last month. How did they find me? What did they type into Google to find me? And if it's a keyword that maybe I hadn't have thought of before, or a search term or a question they've typed into Google and they're heading to my blog post, they're clicking on my blog post from Google, then I will be like, right, that's really popular. People are resonating with that blog post. how can I then go and make it better, or write a second blog post similar to that topic that further helps them, that's going to get them back, retargeting them, coming back to my website again. I'm looking at how much time they're spending on my website, what pages they're looking at, how fast they're exiting. All these things are really important to know how to read and how to understand it. And they can be really basic things like how much time they spend on my homepage, in order for you to make really good decisions on how to further grow and improve your website and SEO. So I always think first of every month is a good time to do it, because you're like motivated, fresh new month, let's do it, set my goals, all that stuff. You might as well set aside an hour, maybe 2, depending on how deep you go or how big your website is, and look at that and just write notes. That's why I created my desktop SEO and content planner, is to write down all these things. And it comes with a guide, and it says like, here's what to look at and here's how to find it. Now write it down. Once you write all the things down, the other half of the planner is then writing down ideas for content based on that real actual data that Google is telling you and your Google tools are telling you is working or not working. So then when you create your content and you do your SEO things, you know it's going to work because you've bothered to look at the stats and not just gone, oh, just whip up whatever blog post this month and it'll be fine. Like, that doesn't work. So yeah.
Data-driven decisions about your content, I think they are the absolute best, but we often forget to do them. So that's a really good reminder for any content that you're doing, especially content for your website. I have your planner. It's really amazing. You've done such a good job with it. And like you said, and with the accompanying workbook to show you what to do. We will, of course, link to that here in the show notes. So for anybody listening, if you want to go and check that out. Would love to know, Karlie, because you've been doing this for 10 years now, what's SEO like now in 2023, heading into 2024, and how has it changed in recent years?
Well, what I think hasn't changed is what we were just talking about. Like, the foundations and the basics of SEO haven't changed really ever. Like, to be honest, like doing keyword research and making sure you've got all your page titles and your images have optimized and have alt tags, like all those things haven't changed. But what has changed, I think, is the off-page SEO side of it. Like, 10 years ago, podcasts weren't really a thing, right? And now it is. And that's a really good way to drive traffic to your website and create brand awareness, because you write show notes and people go to your website to look at your episodes, or they'll look for it on Spotify. And, and Spotify has its own SEO as well, as does Instagram, as you know. So I think looking at changes, the off-page SEO space changes frequently. And yeah, it can be a little bit like, oh, what's next? What's happening now? And at the moment, that is like AI and Chat GPT, and that's all new and happening at the moment. And then maybe like if you look at, say, 10, 15, even 20 years ago, Google-wise, they weren't even looking at, how well structured your website was, or really even how good your content was. They were just looking at how many clicks you were getting to your website from whatever other websites are out there. So if they saw like 1,000 clicks to your website, they would boost you up in Google search because you seem popular, because all these clicks are happening to your website. But they didn't look at where the clicks were coming from. They didn't care. It was a numbers game. It wasn't a quality game. That's now flipped on its head. So if you try and go out there, and this is called backlinking, by the way, if you go out there and try and add your website address to 100 bogus websites that have nothing to do with you, your business, what you do, all those things, and you expect Google to just look at the number of clicks coming to your website, they'll actually penalize it for you now. And you'll get penalized for it because they see what you're trying to do, and it doesn't work anymore. But yeah, 10, 15 years ago, that worked. Now it's about getting quality backlinks. Like, you could have 10 really quality backlinks to your site from other reputable, authoritative websites that makes sense. Like, you've guest blog posted, or you've written something great for them, or they've just recommended you. And that's what Google are looking at now. And that will help your Google visibility, because you've gone to the effort of, looking at those quality over quantity quality over quantity. That's right. Backlinks. So that's the main thing that has changed on page SEO wise. But yeah, off page, it's like changing constantly. But I feel like my best advice in that area is to not try and do all the things all at once. Pick like 1 or 2, maybe 3 at most, things to concentrate on for a good 6 to 12 months at least, and do them really well rather than all the things and doing them all poorly and not getting the results that you expect.
And remember, people used to do word clouds on their website with like just a bunch of random keywords and crazy stuff like that, right?
And they used to put on all the words like on a white background and use white text so that you couldn't see the words, but Google would clearly see them because they read them in the code of your site. That was a big thing that people used to do. And actually it worked. It worked back then, but it doesn't anymore. Not anymore. So don't, anyone listening, do not go and do that. It will not work. And don't go and put in a bunch of keywords in the footer. That also won't work. Still see that, unfortunately.
Oh,
Ew.
gosh.
So you mentioned in your answer AI. So we've got to talk about AI and SEO because that's been the big thing since, I don't know, since March, essentially, when ChatGPT really since last week, when ChatGPT just opened the floodgates to everyone being able to save time, being super uber productive, etc. But in terms of AI and SEO, news has been coming out of how Google is going to be changing search results. And from my understanding, the results are going to be very similar to the way that ChatGPT works, where you will put in your search prompt, your question, like you do with Google, and the answer that comes through is going to be compiled from several different websites to concisely answer your question. That's correct, right? How, in your opinion, is AI going to affect SEO? Do you think this is going to stick around, or is this just maybe Google jumping on a trend? Or
it's
like,
really
how do you
early
see?
It's too soon to tell. Like, it's still rolling out now. So, there's no experts on this yet. And for me, I'm someone that likes to sit back for a good while and see how things unfold and watch tests come out and case studies come out and look at things from a really zoomed out perspective before I like to give my true thoughts and opinions on these kinds of things. But I do think that it will stick around. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think people will sadly stop paying copywriters eventually, which is awful because I love copywriters. I work with a lot of them, but it is so easy to use ChatGPT and you can customize it. It's all about the questions or the prompts that you give it and the detail you give it as to the quality of the result that it will give you. My sort of concern with ChatGPT specifically is I want to know, and I haven't tested this yet, but it's just a thing I want to look at, is if two people type in the exact same thing into ChatGPT, right? Word for word, the same thing. Do they get the exact same result? Does ChatGPT give them the whole thing word for word the same? And then if they do those two people then go and put it on their websites? And this then creates duplicate content. It's not original. We've seen it before. It's clearly made by AI. And is that off-putting? And if you don't go and edit the result that it gives you to personalize it, customize it, make it sound like you and your tone of voice, if you don't do all of that, then I think there's going to be the same content on a lot of websites and it's going to be really off-putting and all bland and boring and doesn't make you stand out. That's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on in the next sort of 12 months, is if we just see the same old AI generated content out there on every website. So yeah, like I said, it's still too soon. I don't know. I'm not an expert in the field. I don't think there's any experts in this just yet, but it's a really interesting thing to watch, I think, at the moment.
Well, and in terms of search, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because, clearly I was before, but if you've got duplicate content on your website and Google can tell if it's written by AI, my understanding is that drops your ranking in terms of
I don't know yet.
being visible. Is that true?
yet. It's too soon. I haven't seen really a lot of expert advice on that yet. It's something I'm going to watch for sure. But Google's a very smart beast. It will look at your content and the next person's content, and if they can't find any differences between it, then they're going to mark it down as duplicate content, and duplicate content is like a barrier to getting found on Google. If Google looks at your website content and goes, "Oh, seen this before, it's all the same," and there's no humanizing in it, there's no storytelling in it, it's not keyword rich. If you don't ask ChatGPT to include your specific keyword within it, then you're missing a whole boat there as well. So yeah, it's too soon. I'm not an expert in that field just yet, but watch this space. Maybe I will be.
I think some people forget as well with, say, all this AI generated stuff. You don't need it to create SEO rich content. If you know the question that people are going to be asking and you put that question within your content and you answer it like us talking to each other now in a conversational tone, you clearly answer that question, you're good.
You don't need it. But people are, because it's quick and easy and I don't have to think about it.
I think there's a lot of hype around it and there's a lot of eyeballs on it, but no one's like looking at that bigger picture and holding back like you're doing, Karlie. You're sitting back and watching everything unfold and going and making your right decision versus jumping on the bandwagon or being a barramundi catching that bobble.
Yeah. I mean, I've used it for sure. Like, I know I've used it for coming up with blog post ideas. Like, if I'm stuck, it's great for that. But again, it really comes down to the prompts and the detail in the info you give it. Like, you have to be super specific, which I think helps to generate a better result. But I'm not just going and copying and pasting the result either. Like, I'm putting in my own tone of voice and I'm changing sentences that I think maybe need more info or more robustness or my own personal take in certain points. But like, I don't know, website platforms are also on board with the AI chat GPT at the moment as well. Wix, I use Wix for my own website and they have an AI text generator within Wix editor now. You don't even have to like write your own about page anymore. It tells you like, tell us a few things about you, and then bam, you have a whole page of text. And it's actually really good. But again, it is dependent on what you ask it and the detail you give it. Like, you could say, include these words, don't include these words. It's targeted to these people. Use this angle, like super specific, and then the result will be better. So yeah, it's interesting.
Very interesting. And I think it's the same, and interesting that you brought up that Wix has AI in it, because I just noticed the other day, Later, that's the social media scheduler, I use that one, now has AI to help you with your written caption. So it is everywhere. I think there's a couple of reasons people lean heavily on this. Number one, they are time poor or also possibly doubting themselves and their own knowledge and ability. I've seen this inside of Instagram Unpacked. We've had these conversations as a group. Karlie is a former Instagram unpacker as well, so she's been part of that. People doubt themselves and what they actually know, and when you start questioning them, they are a wealth of knowledge and information. They just, aren't used to getting that out and presenting it in this kind of written format or speaking to camera or however it is you want to show up. So there's that. There's also the other more sinister reason as to why people would be leaning very heavily on it, and that is because they don't know what they're talking about, but they want to pass themselves off as an expert in that space. And so I really hope that tools like Google are able to catch up to pull these charlatans out, and expose them for what they are, because I've already seen it on many, many Instagram posts, something that is really clearly written by ChatGPT or another AI tool. And you think, okay, why are they doing this? Is it that they were time poor? Or is it that they actually don't know what they're talking about and they're just relying on this and copying and pasting? So I think it's a danger, especially for small business owners and especially for service providers who want to show their credibility and their authority in that space if they are leaning heavily on that. Anyway, let's bring it back to SEO.
Get caught out. I feel like they'll get caught out in the end anyway. Like you can you can get all the traffic to your website from wherever that you like. But if people get there and you're a shit person and your services suck and your products are crap, they ain't buying from you. So you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, I think, anyway, if you're trying that tactic.
I know. Doesn't it suck having integrity sometimes, though? Because there's all these people making money selling absolute BS online. We were talking about TikTok creators who do these videos saying, I spoke to the head of Instagram the other day and here's what they told me. I'm like, you did not speak to Adam Mazzeri. I'm sorry. Well, you just had a quick phone call with him and he gave you all the secrets to share on TikTok. No way. Like, no way this happened. So
really, I can't believe people are doing that.
I know. It's quite funny to watch, but people will believe them and they will buy whatever it is that they're selling. And that's the really frustrating part for like legit players, you know, like us, who are there showing up with the goods and maybe not getting the same traction because of these very sensationalist businesses, I say in inverted commas.
I have seen that scenario actually happen in real life on TikTok. I got one video from a guy and he had the background, he had his points, and then like 2-3 TikToks later, it's, what's her TikTok? How to sell anything online, I think. She started Hero Packaging, and she's a gun when it comes to helping with e-com and like getting a little points, and she just goes, this guy has copied my video to a T. And she goes through and she does like frames of her saying one sentence and him doing the exact same sentence. They will get caught out. They're getting caught out in real time on TikTok. It's going to eventually happen. It's just going to be slower to get to that point, I think, on Google, for sure.
Mate, if you're going to do shitty tactics, expect shitty results in the end, I feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to bring the conversation back to SEO.
Tangent 2.
I know. So many. I think we're 200 by now.
Yeah.
we love a good tangent here. But look, it is all related, obviously. So for those who are listening who want to do things the legit way and want to think about, you know, their SEO and spending more time doing that, making it a regular practice in their business, what are the must-haves that small businesses need to know or need to do when it comes to their SEO?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely starting with your website and making sure that you've got that in its best Google shape and human shape as possible. And that includes doing proper keyword research, whether you do that yourself or you hire a specialist in that area, and making sure that you have all the best keywords for your website where they need to be found by both Google and humans. But not only that, making sure that your website speaks to your audience. You know, it's structured well, it's easy to find things, it's mobile friendly, fast to load. All of those things should be number one priority. Whether that you are just building your very first website or you've had a website for 5 years, but you realize that it's not where it needs to be. You're not too late to start with that either. So that for me is like number one, website first. I think the second thing would definitely be measuring. A lot of people, and I'm big on measuring. I'm big on stats and looking at data like we've already talked about. Setting up your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console, free Google tools that tell you everything you need to know about your website and SEO performance. If you don't track and measure your results, again, you can't make the best decisions possible going forward for your content marketing and your SEO efforts. So that's definitely a big one for me. And then there are other tools out there as well. Like if you're wanting to do competitor research, for example, I do a lot of competitor research because I am a keyword strategist specialist. So there's tools like SE ranking, which I use and I have been using for a good couple of years now, solely for looking at your competitors. And that means looking at the keywords that they're ranking for, because at the end of the day, you want to be outranking your competitors on Google so that you get all the traffic. There are other ones as well, like SEMrush and Ahrefs. I've used a lot of them, and I just find that SE ranking is the most simple one to use. The user interface is really clean. There's not a million things going on like there are in other platforms. if you're just starting out or just want to start simple and easy, just stick to the good old Google Analytics and Search Console and start there. And then the other thing I think that people, I'm surprised kind of that this isn't happening, that not everyone's using a Google My Business page or a Google Maps page. That is, I get a lot of traffic from my own Google Maps because, it's easy. I can see what it is that you do. I'm looking at all your reviews. The reviews part, I can't stress enough how important it is to ask for reviews, Google reviews, because people will look at them and judge you really harshly sometimes on those reviews. And if they're all good, even if you've got just 5 recent really good 5-star reviews, you're likely to get a click through to your website compared to the next person who's listed who has like 1 4-star review, for example. And updating that as well, like you can really turn that into its own mini website now. You put all your services on there, you can put products on there, your open hours, all those things. You can post on there, like you post on social media. The more sort of active that is and the more recent the info that you put on there is, people think, oh yeah, she's really active on there and this is info that she posted yesterday. This must be really recent. She got a Google review last week. This looks good. Everything's feeling good about this person and this business. So I'm going to click through to their website. Yeah, those are, and that's not on page. Obviously, that's a little bit off page SEO, but yeah, those are my 3 sort of main things that I would suggest that you start with for sure.
I love that you brought up Google business listings. It is such an underdog when it comes to getting people off of that fence as to whether to align themselves with you. I think the last time I heard, and I mean, the stats now a few years old, but it was like 95% of people that click on a Google business listing will visit that business or contact them within the next 24 hours. So it's like if you don't have all the bits and bobs on your Google business listing set up and you don't get those reviews, you could be losing some potential traffic. And you don't have to have a bricks and mortar location to have a Google business listing. You can put a service area. So like I have a service area because I work from home. I don't want people rocking up at my house, but I can tell them that I can service Sydney.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. I don't want people turning up to my house either, and I don't have people come to appointments here or anything like that.
Yeah.
So no, you don't have to list your physical. Like I think you have to list the area that you're in, but not your like street address for sure. And yeah, it definitely pays to update it regularly. And by updating, that could mean just putting up a post being like, here's our special for this week. That could be it. Relevancy and I was going to say recency, but that's not the word. But
Frequency.
That's the word. If they see that you're active yesterday or last week, then they're more likely to click on your website because you seem current. But yeah, if you haven't posted on there, or if your services are old, or you've got images on there that from like 5 years ago, people sniff that out really quickly and go, nah, and they'll scroll down to the next result. So yeah.
And call me conspiracy theorist if you want. I do firmly believe that if the more Google products you use that are linked to your website, the better it is. And I mean, it might be something so minute, but I'm certain that Google sees that, like whether you've got the YouTube channel.
Totally.
Listing,
suck up stuff. Google's ass.
Exactly.
Why not? Like, yeah, definitely. I haven't seen like actual facts around that, but I am sure that is how it works.
For sure.
For those listening at home, this is your sign to go and take a look at your Google My Business page, just to make sure everything is relevant still and up to date, that you don't have dodgy old products or services that you no longer offer, so that when people are clicking through, they know what you do have on offer and they can get that right information.
Yeah, good advice.
Karlie, thank you so much for coming on to the show. We've got a few quick fire questions that might not necessarily be related to SEO. So,
okay, go.
You ready?
Ready to go.
All right. What is your top tip for busy working parents who run their own business?
For me, it is to lower your expectations. Especially if you're a newbie, you can go in like all guns blazing and have these really high unrealistic expectations that you're going to be successful within 6 months. And then that doesn't happen and you think you're a failure. But it's just because you set your expectations way too high in the beginning. If you lower your expectations and you exceed them, then you like feel good about that and you like are pumped and motivated to grow and do better. So I think lower your expectations. Don't be afraid of trying new things, letting them fail if they're going to fail, but then trying something else. Don't give up. Like something will work eventually, but sometimes you've just got to try all the things and see what sticks. But yeah, that's my best advice. Lower expectations.
That is so important, because I'm sure there's many mothers out there who are like us, who had corporate jobs prior to going to maternity leave and starting our own businesses in that time. That's the journey for lots of people. Yeah. And you're still working as your corporate self, right? Well, your brain is still working as that. But the physical realities with your energy, with your time, with the other demands on you just don't allow you to work like that anymore. Yeah, and it is really hard. And I think we do still hold these really high expectations for ourselves, for our business, what success looks like. And even you've gone from having a full staff and support team to you doing everything yourself and like trying to work out your own IT issues or your own SEO, for example. And these are all skills that you've never had to use before. So there's a lot of learning. And I think, you've got to just give yourself a little bit of compassion as well. Yeah.
I've got a different question. Who do you learn from? If we wanted to learn more and become as specialized in SEO, where would we go besides yourself, Karlie? Who do you learn from?
In the beginning, when I was sort of learning all about SEO, I learned a lot from Kate Toon. She's really well known in the SEO space, extremely knowledgeable, and she's got a really good podcast as well out there. I've learned a lot, still learn a lot from that now. So she's a good one to learn from as well. I literally learned SEO from Googling it. Like, honestly, there's so much information out there, free information that you can learn about SEO. Like, literally, I Googled what is SEO 10 years ago, and now I'm an SEO specialist and a leader in my field because I just went out there and searched for the info myself. But there's also a lot of info on Google's own hub. If you go into Google Analytics, there's tutorials, there's so much information on how to understand Google Analytics and what this means and what that means. Like, Google itself have that free information out there. I also think listening to podcasts, there's a few really good SEO podcasts out there as well. So yeah, those are sort of the main ones that I've learned from. But there's others like Remy Audette, for example. She's also up and coming in the SEO space as well. She's really doing great things content marketing wise. At the moment, we sort of run in the same sort of circles online. She posts really good content around SEO and is in the sort of same mission as me, as trying to simplify it for people and break down those fear barriers around SEO, and also what to look out for when it comes to SEO bros and SEO cowboys, as we call them, like those arsehole people that send us cold DMs and cold emails saying, oh, your website sucks, we'll fix it for you if you pay us $1 million a month. She's really good on that side of things. So there's so many like good small business SEO people like Remy and Reva Cutting. She's another one. She's really good in the Google Ads space. Like, little people like us, we're all out there. That doesn't necessarily have to be all the big people to learn from.
Well, it just so happens we'll have Kate Toon on the podcast, I think, in a couple of weeks. So.
Oh, cool. Good. Yeah, she's a wealth of knowledge.
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you once again, Karlie, for joining us. You have given me a few prompts to go and take a little look again at my Google My Business profile and my Google Analytics and just see what's going on, because I have to admit I've neglected this for a little while. So I will definitely be doing that, and I hope our listeners will be doing the same. We will drop the links to some of those tools that you mentioned and those accounts so that people can go and check them out. Now, where can people find out more about you? What socials do you normally hang out on? I know you're on Instagram, but is there anywhere else that you like to hang out?
I'm on Threads, mate. Threads. Come and find me on Threads.
Yay!
I'm loose as over there too. It's so much fun. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm over there, and also my website, which is thetechnobird.com.au, and on your podcast.
Yay! Excellent. So nice to chat with you. And yes, thank you once again.
Thank
you so much,
you.
Karlie.
Thanks for having me.